like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Ay, this is what you call a bad bitch. What? This is what you call a bad bitch.
Hello, everyone. Hi. As you could tell, Pep's not with me. He is living life and doing big people shit. And so here I am. And I honestly wasn't gonna go live, but this is waking up. And as you can tell, I just woke up. So I'm over here looking at myself. I'm looking rough. It's fine. Happy Sunday, Eric me. Um yeah, I literally just woke up and I look at and honestly, my level of give a like my level of give a fuck is at 0 of how I look right now, so that's fine. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. But hello, happy Sunday. And this is waking up and where usually me and my co-host Pep Sean talk about our trauma and our religious trauma specifically, but we also talk about all sorts of trauma and just how it's not just oh no, no ad. How it's not just how just both those traumas like bleed together. But as always, even though I'm solo, we are going to do our disclaimer here on Waking Up. So, here on Waking Up, we are not here to bash anyone's religious faith or belief. We think that faith and religion are beautiful things when done in an emotionally and mentally healthy manner. Um, we are not mental health professionals. We are not certified in any way, shape, or form. We are not licensed therapists, counselors, life coaches, any of that. Everything said on here is our own opinions and our own experiences, and just sort of what we are going through. But if you do need professional help, we do have some information that will help you get in touch with the help that you need and professionals that can help you, and so that you do not have to go through any of this alone. Uh, it's been a couple weeks. um, Sean and I both grew up in the Southern Baptist faith. And for those of you who don't know, that is an evangelical denomination of the Christian faith. We grew up in the Carolinas, which is Billy Graham territory, and that is the buckle of the Bible Belt and all of the things that, you know, that went along with that. So, yeah, it's a good time. So yeah, I was debating on whether to go live today because last week I had a rough week. A lot of personal stuff going on. It was very mentally and emotionally challenging and for me. And I woke up Sunday and I went, I can't do it. I can't wake up, and I think that the biggest part of that I'm trying to develop, over the past few years since I was streaming is that I don't wanna have to force myself to stream to try to keep a schedule. That has been very adamant, especially when we started Team AOA, that we're not gonna force ourselves to stream if we're not feeling mentally and emotionally up to streaming. Now, if we are not in a great place and we need to stream to try to either distract ourselves or whatnot, then that's one thing and okay. But if you're in a place where it's just like I can't put on the face, I just don't, then that was a very big thing that we had agreed upon. And I last week I just couldn't do it for you guys. I couldn't go on and hi Calvino. Um Relations surrounding courtship. In Asheville, yeah. Yeah, oh, well, I will get into that whole, Western Carolina thing. I can we can get into that in a second, but yeah, I didn't wanna force myself, and for those of you who have been along for the ride the past 4 years and you go back and watch, the BSBN and some of the older podcasts I was on where I would force myself, to go to stream because it was expected that we were gonna stream and keep a schedule, you'll see the difference, and I've always prided myself as my evolution and growth as a human and as a streamer that I wanted to be more genuine. I wanna be myself, and I wanna be honest, and some days you don't have to force yourself. and to do something if you're just not up to it. And so last week I had just gotten to Sunday. I had my kids last weekend and I had gotten to Sunday and I was just like, I emotionally and mentally just I can't. I didn't I had very limited spoons, as some people call it. I had very limited my meter was very limited that day and I woke up and I went, "You know what? I want to spend it with my kids. I want to re-energize and I want to spend what little energy I had for myself and my kids." And that was a big step for me. I am slowly learning to not feel guilty about that and not and understanding that you guys aren't going to hold it against me of, oh, they didn't stream this week or and that I'm afraid that you guys are going to forget about me or I'm going to be unimportant or I'm going to lose all these things because that's not it. I'm taking care of myself and I think that that is one thing that I often I hate the word preach. I often emphasize with my community and my friends is like take care of yourself and that's not selfish. So I need to also take my own advice. So that's where we were last week. That's why we didn't stream. I also put a story up on Twitch so you guys know that. But here I am. Sean's not able to be with us this week, and that's fine. I mean, he's again doing big. He's being all like big and important, and I'm like, you go be big and important because I'm gonna sit here and sleep in late and be in my pajamas and no makeup, and I literally did not brush my hair. I put it in a ponytail so that like for real, it looked like a bird's nest. It was very yeah, it was Hillary Carter, you know very, very out there, so good morning. I know Pep doing his big boy things. Um, but Eric B said, he went to Asheville. There was a camp in Asheville. Yeah. Oh, we know those camps around there. And whitewater rafting is amazing there. And speaking of whitewater rafting, as most of you know, all the stuff that was going on with Helene and it's very like Asheville, because I went to school at Western Carolina, I spent a lot of time in Asheville. I spent a lot of time in that area. Chimney Rock, I grew up in the foothills. I grew up, Charlotte and Gaston County, those are on the foothills. Like you drive an hour and a half and you're there in the mountains. And so many places of my childhood and places of just my life are just gone. And it's heart wrenching. Um, it's heart-wrenching, and I just every time, the more news that comes out, the more I just want to bawl, um, and I know it's gonna take some time and honestly, as somebody who experienced what I did in Harvey here in Houston, I that devastation is just even worse, and I can't even imagine, and, so we gotta I think that also the big thing that I'm going to encourage my community and because I do have friends who are still living up in that area and yes, they are safe, is that don't forget about them when the news stops reporting on it. That's a big thing because this is going to take years to rebuild. It's going to take it years. So when it gets to be 6 months from now, a year from now, let's not forget the people that need. Yes, they are going to be getting better, but we also need to remember it's gonna take time, and so let's just make sure that when it's not national news anymore, especially, coming up on November and all of these things, this push of what's gonna be happening in the past few months, let's not forget what's happening there, and, let's try to keep up that momentum because they need it more than anything. They will just need to not be forgotten, and, yeah, um devastation. Helene, if you look up Western North Carolina and Helene, the hurricane, it literally wiped Georgia, the Appalachian Mountains right up there. Georgia, Tennessee, especially Western North Carolina, completely off the map. Literally, dams broke and whole towns literally wiped off the map. So people are trapped on mountainsides, people don't have power, they can't get water, there's no gas, they can't and because of the mountain region, they can't get to them. It's having trouble trying to get to these people, and so It's really bad. So, Eric, if you wanna go, just I literally look it up and prepare to cry or feel really bad. I cry, because, I mean, that's my home. That's literally when I think of my happy place and my safe place, I think of Western. I think of Western Carolina and the mountains, and so, well, I guess Appalachian people are resilient. That's the one thing for damn sure. They never let anything stop them, but it's nature is certainly testing them. Um, oh yes, yes. Look up Helene hurricane in Western North Carolina, and yeah, you'll see. But um, I am by myself, and I am here. I don't know, like I thought about talking about because I know last week we were talking about isolation, and there's a lot that I could talk about isolation, but I don't know with Sean being on. I guess I can touch on the topic, but I also don't want to do something because um, Sean also has a very good perspective on that, and so I mean I might talk on it, but um, it's crazy how one can be survived, and speaking of being stranded on a mountain and being isolated, um, that how you could be surrounded by people and how often that is a very common feeling that a lot of people don't talk about, is being surrounded by friends and family and organizations and whatever, and still feeling isolated and feeling like nobody understands, that nobody can hear you, that nobody can, and I I know that feeling way too well. I know the feeling of just feeling so fucking alone and being in a very crowded room and feeling like no one can see you. And it's almost like that disassociation of that it's disassociation in some in a form of you're in this crowd and you're over here and your mouth and your body and you're smiling and you're having conversations, but there's a part of your head, in your head you're going, no one knows. No one knows how I'm suffering. No one knows how I'm struggling. No one knows any of that. And why can't anyone see me? Why doesn't anyone see what is going on? And it's a very double-edged sword because you don't, especially when you're in a certain place in your trauma, and a certain place in your survival mode, your trauma survival mode, you don't want to burden anybody. You don't think it's appropriate. That was a big one for me, especially growing up. It's not appropriate to air your emotions and feelings. The meme of the one guy said they don't know about me. Yes, watching others connect while you feel that makes it worse. Yes, yes, and it's hard. And it's hard because you want to. And I think that that is the thing where a lot of people don't understand is well, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you just all you had all this was the one that fucking pissed me off more than anything. And I think I'm also like I'm struggling this with my kids a little bit because they're in middle school and everybody knows that's an awkward social age, and so I'm trying to navigate them as a healthy parent, but at the same time understanding that there are some things they're gonna have to do on their own, and friends is one of them, and how they handle social situations is one of them. And, that's so hard. It's so hard as a parent to try to balance make that line of, um, "Here, let me help you," versus the, "Let me do it for you," or, "Let me force these people on you," and it's hard. But the worst is that is going, "Well, why didn't you say anything?" Well, all you had to do was speak up. All you had to do was blank. All like you should have. And it puts that it's very invalidating, especially when you finally get up the courage to tell somebody, "Hey, I'm feeling like a little left out, or I'm feeling disconnected, or any of that. And then they go, "Well, why didn't you say anything?" And it's almost like victim blaming, and it's almost that whole putting it in. It is invalidating and it is victim. It's like, well, you should have said something, or I would have done this. It's not, and that's not how it is. Like, but I am saying something now. That's I am saying something now. So, I am saying something, and but it's one of those, well, it's almost like, well, you shouldn't have felt that way because you didn't say anything. Okay, I will take some ownership in that. I travel back to the past and face the same exactly, exactly. It's like I'm saying something fucking now. I'm saying something now. I didn't then. I didn't have the courage then. I didn't have the emotional capacity then. I didn't have, or whatever you were going through at that moment in time. Yes, I didn't do that then, but I am telling you and communicating now. And it's so, and that is, oh, you want to feel, and then you feel even more isolated. So it's a perpetual cycle. It's a circle. It's always going around, well, okay, and now you're reinforcing that whole feeling of feeling isolated, like no one gives a shit about how I feel, or if I'm feeling sad, or if I'm feeling unsupported, or any of that. Okay, thank you for invalidating me, even when I like, okay, because I should have said it back then, but even though I'm saying it now, I'm like, what the fuck? And then you're like, why bother? That's the big one that gets, that's the thought, that's the coping mechanism thought that gets reinforced a lot. Why bother? I'm feeling isolated. I'm feeling alone, and I brought it up to this my loved one, my partner, whatever. And you're like, well, you should have said something. Okay, I realize I should have said something then, but I'm saying it now. Can you validate how I'm feeling now? And then we'll work towards, okay, now I'm not asking you to be hyper aware, or, try to adjust your behavior toward me, but I am trying to I'm trying to tell you how I feel so that we can maybe approach it differently. But, and again, it's a relationship. So it takes two people. You should then be able to talk about, hey, when I am feeling this way, I'm going to say this, and can we change a little bit of our dynamic? All some people need is validation to feel like they're seen, like their feelings matter, like their thoughts matter. Um, and then on top of that, going, I can understand that. And take accountability for what you didn't do, even though even though, I think here's the part that a lot of people, I know I struggle with it a little bit, but that especially when I'm trying to sometimes, even though you didn't intentionally make them feel left out or isolated. And even if though didn't that wasn't your intention because you weren't given all of the information. Yes, okay, you weren't given all of the information and it was not your intention to make me feel left out or isolated. However, you still made me feel left out and isolated. So take accountability for that part. It's not it's not everybody's at 100% at fault. Not everybody's 100% in the wrong. That's not I'm not asking, like, and when somebody says, "Hey, you made me feel isolated and I felt like I was unsupported," that is not me saying you're a bad person and you intentionally did that. You're just saying, "Hey, your actions, this is how it is. This is what probably I should have done to have changed that situation, and here's probably what you should have done." And taking accountability for your part in it, not taking the blame. And there's a whole huge difference between taking the blame and taking accountability. And I think so many of us, myself absolutely included, feel like if we take accountability, we're taking the blame. And that's not it either. Like, I'm not blaming you for feeling for me feeling a little alone and isolated and unseen and unheard. I am not blaming you for that. I am, if you're doing it in a healthy way, because it's important that you also communicate your feelings in a healthy way where you're not blaming somebody and you're not making somebody else 100% accountable for how you feel. Okay. Remember that. So, but if you're in a healthy way going, hey, I felt this way in this situation. And I know, and taking that accountability of, I know I probably should have said something and, but I still felt this way because your feelings are valid. Then that, like, if somebody comes to me and says that, and I go, I had no idea. That was not my intention. I can see how my actions would have made you feel that way, and I am sorry for that. So next time I will try to be a little bit more considerate. I will try to, make sure I inquire in a little bit, but that also requires both of us to communicate with each other. So taking accountability is not taking the blame. And it's so frustrating. I think that that is a part, and for me, again, this is all for me and my personal experience. I think for me, that's the hardest part, is the hardest part in hearing it, and then the hardest part of um, try to say it. Because that's the part that where so many people are going, "Well, no, I didn't do that," because they feel like they're being attacked and they're being blamed for somebody else. And some people do. Some people use that whole, "I felt this way. I felt isolated. I felt like you didn't support me. I felt et cetera and so forth. I was feeling a certain way." And then they take it as, "Well, I'm blaming you for that." And some people do come at you like they're blaming you for that. "You made me feel this way. You did this, so I felt that way because you did that." Okay. Whoa, time out. Like I'm not going to take 100% of the blame for that. I will take accountability for my actions, but nothing also that it's one of those, it becomes a battlefield. And it's such a slippery slope, especially when you don't know how to do, first off, communicate your negative feelings and communicate your intrusive thoughts, especially when it comes to social situations. And then it also is very hard to hear. Like, it is so hard, especially when you have mind trauma and you're trying to be perfect and make everyone happy and a people pleaser. Because God knows I don't want to hear how I felt. Somebody felt like they were alone in my presence. I work very hard to make sure everybody feels included. But maybe sometimes something I've said, something I've done does hurt somebody's feelings and makes them feel invalidated and, insecure, or just, I mean, I'm gonna be real honest. I mean, sometimes me just being me does make people feel insecure, which makes them feel like um, very alone and isolated, and I feel the same way. And nothing is worse. Nothing is worse than that. When you're in a group of friends that you know they're your friends, and yet you feel ignored or invalidated, or like you can't speak up and you don't feel safe to speak up. And that's a big thing, is feeling safe to say something, and having, and maybe, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. Um, because it's a lot, some of it has to do with perception as well. Um, and I had to learn that the hard way. And that's where I had to take some accountability in my own feelings in social situations. Is, am I, and a lot of it has to do with my mental illness and my trauma. So it's a lot of self inquiry and a lot of like, my feelings are valid, but are my thoughts based in reality? It's like, are my feelings are valid, but are my feelings generating my thoughts, or are my thoughts, generating my feelings? And it's one of those, having to, and at all, I can feel extremely alone and mess because my mental health isn't doing well. And yes, exactly. And it's very hard. It is very hard, especially when you are having a really bad mental health day. And um I 100%, I 100% am, like, I absolutely agree with that, because it isn't your fault. You can't help it, especially if you have a mental illness, if there's something that you are doing that, like, whatever, trauma triggered, maybe you woke up that way, maybe you're like, I don't know, maybe your meds are kicked in or whatever the mental health issue is, that there are just some times where you're sitting there and there's nothing you can do. And they are doing with everything that they can do, and you're doing everything that you can do. And sometimes the feeling just exists. And that's when and it's the shitty part about me and my healing is, so that's when I have to just accept. It's that radical acceptance of, accepting that, um exactly. That you just have to sit there, but that's when communication is key, and also surrounding yourself with people who will understand and go, if you're in that place and you want to be around people, but you're not like it's it again, mental health is very tricky and it's very hard, and it's but when you're in that place and you're just like you're feeling alone, you're feeling isolated, I for me, and this is all my again, this is all my personal opinion and et cetera and so forth. Oh, hi, Paragon. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that, Paragon. By the way, I've missed you, boo boo. You've been quiet. I know you got been going through some stuff, but I haven't heard from you in a while, and I was starting to get a little worried actually. Um, but I'm glad to see you on here. But back for what I was saying is that's when it's important to surround yourself. For me to surround myself around people that when I'm feeling isolated and I am a mess and I'm triggered and I just I'm not in a good place and I'm falling apart and I'm breaking down and I'm doing and all of that to be able to go, I'm in a bad place. Please don't fix me. Please don't try anything. That I am not asking you to do anything else. I just need you to know where I'm at. That's all. And when you're surrounding yourself with good friends and healthy people and people who aren't white knighting and trying to fix you, because when people are trying to fix you when you're in a bad mental health state, it probably makes it worse. Just it for me, I'm just like, please don't try to fix me because you can't fix me. You can't fix me, and it makes me feel worse because you're trying to fix me, and I can't. So when people try to white knight me, and when I'm in a bad mental health place, sometimes it's a their intentions are good, but they are doing more damage. But that's neither here nor there. That's a whole nother podcast or a whole nother episode. Um, you know what? I don't know. Hey, if it's Paragon's AI, then I need Paragon in the thing. But it's it sucks to feel so alone when you're surrounded by people that you care about. And communication with yes, and that's why when you are in it, that's why mental health professionals and being able to reach them and having a support system, even if it's 1 or 2 people, that is a big thing. My therapist has pushed for me is making sure that because I am because of my BPD and how I have quiet BPD, so I internalize everything, and so it's very self-destructive, and it's I don't want to be a burden and all of and internalizing, and it's important to go. I'm disassociated, and having that one or two people that go, I'm disassociated. I just want somebody to know and somebody that's gonna check on me. Not necessarily fix me, not anything, but just so because I have to force myself to reach out beyond and my disassociation. And that's the plan and support system that I've come up with my therapist. And the support system plans all work differently for different people because everybody has their different needs and their different traumas and their different everything is different for every and not one type of support system or works the same. And that's okay because that makes you different. That's why it's your support plan. That is why it's your mental health journey. That's why it's your therapist and you working through a plan. Um, uh, if there was a silent one, yes, there is. If you look, there are 4 different types of BPD, and And a lot of times, the people with quiet BPD, it is actually it's a whole thing. Yeah, if you want, read up on it. It's a whole thing. I am getting better. You don't ever get really healed from it, because it is a trauma based. Like you don't ever get healed from it, but you do get eventually get to a place where it doesn't become. It's not a death sentence, and I think a lot of people take it. It doesn't go away, but the how you cope with it, you learn how to manage it to a point where it doesn't control you nearly as much as it used to, and I'm working towards that. It's a long process, and it takes a lot of hard work, but any mental illness, and diagnosis and any of that, it takes work, and, you know, sometimes sometimes you feel like it's not making any difference, and some you just gotta keep going, one foot in front of the other, and that's hard, and I think that's the other thing that sometimes for me makes me feel alone and very isolated is and it's not any fault of my community or my friends. It's not or my relatives or my loved ones or anyone. They don't see what goes on in my head. And I think that anybody with a depression, anxiety, bipolar, BPD, you name any type of mental illness or trauma struggle or etc is what makes them feel let me rephrase. What makes me feel the most isolated is they don't understand the thoughts going in my head and how hard it is and how much work I am doing every day, every moment. That the thoughts in my head that were put there, the things, those struggles, they don't see that. And it's not my and they don't have to see that. They don't have to know my struggle. But I swear to God, if like if anybody knew half of the severity of the thoughts that go in my head on a daily basis that I have to combat every single day, it's hard. Yeah. Do you feel other people with BP know your struggle better? Um, well, that is a very complicated question and answer. I think uh, because the BPD is a trauma based mental illness. Um, which then perpetuates itself. And yes, I feel like there is certain aspects of it that people understand because I actually have a family friend whose daughter was diagnosed, granddaughter, and I was trying to help her through it. And because her trauma was different, her life was different, so her actions and all but the experiences were similar enough, they are similar enough that I can go, "I can see how you got to that thought, I can see how you got to that thought, I can see how why you did that." And so it does help them not feel as they don't feel isolated. I know I didn't when I felt like somebody at least understood that I wasn't being a crazy emotional bitch for no reason, like they felt seen, and I think that that's the most important thing in that. You can't ever, ever, ever understand somebody else's mental health journey and their mental even if you were diagnosed with the same exact mental illnesses, the same somebody with depression, say, I'm gonna use, like, depression or anxiety because that's a more prevalent, um, mental illness, that's a prevalent mental health struggle is depression. Depression looks differently on everyone, because everyone's life is different, everyone's experiences and traumas are different, their body chemistry, their mental chemistry is different. It's not about trying to understand, "Okay, I'm gonna see I know exactly what you're feeling. I'm gonna know exactly how you're gonna react. I'm gonna" It is just being seen and heard and feeling validated. Yes, exactly, Asta. Like, we are all very different. Oh, Paragon, absolutely. Like, honestly, y'all only I mean, I try to be as honest as I can without people going, "What the fuck?" If you only knew half the things that go on in my head when I'm not streaming, when I'm not there, the struggles, the times I go into a bathroom and just cry for well, I mean, there's a reason, but just cry, just because the thoughts get so loud. It's that, but I ask I ask this question to you guys in the chat, and sort of not trying to sound like the guru or any of that, but just something that you guys contemplate because I know it's something I contemplate. It's when I feel the most alone, it's when I feel whether my perception is correct or not, whether my perception is based in reality or not, because going back to that, that's perception can be very, very skewed, especially if you have depression, anxiety, any type of mental health struggle, because those mental health issues do skew how you see situations and behaviors and internalize that. But the things that help me the most when in that situation is just being seen, and the fact that even if even if that person doesn't understand at all what I am going through, and they openly admit that, "Listen, I I can't even imagine. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, but I'm not going anywhere, and you know what? I'm gonna ride this storm out with you." I don't know where the storm's gonna take us. I don't know what kind of storm it is. I don't know what you are going through, but I love you as a person, and we're gonna ride this storm out together. You're not alone. And even if I am feeling alone, just hearing, "I'm not going anywhere. You're not alone." Because my trauma and my issues are very much, I don't wanna be a burden. I don't wanna be this. So I self-isolate. I self-isolate. And so I convince myself I have to do it alone. I convince myself I have to exist in this space where I am doing it by myself and I have to be alone. Even if I'm surrounded by people, I don't want to be a burden to these people who are my loved ones and that I care about more than anything else. So I will self isolate. And that's why it's really important for me when I'm in a disassociative state to go, I am disassociated. Even just that simple. I don't want you to fix me. I don't need you to fix me, but I need to tell somebody that I am disassociated because I am letting somebody know this is where I am. I don't need anything else. I just need somebody to know because even in that simple act of telling somebody I am disassociated and, them going, okay, okay, is there anything I can do? No, I am here for you. I will check in on you in an hour or so. And it's that me being able to reach beyond my self-isolation, just that little bit, and somebody else, a safe person who reaches out and going, "Okay, this is where you're at," and not push you to be not try to go, "Oh, okay, well, what can we do to make you not disassociated?" Because that's not how it works. And anybody with a mental illness knows that's not how it works. If that's how it works, I would absolutely I don't wanna be disassociated. I don't wanna feel isolated. I don't wanna be a burden. I don't wanna feel like I'm a burden. I would love to be able to do all this, like, but that's not how it works. Oh, mm, disassociation is is probably the scariest part for me. Um, I'll go into that in a second. It could go both ways. Yeah, very true. Uh, I'm not afraid of anything but that. I mean, you're not wrong, Paragon. You're not wrong. You're you're not. But but because I self-isolate and there's Mouse. She has been very needy here lately. Um because I self-isolate a lot and that is part of my support plan. My support plan is who are a couple people that I can reach out to and go, I am disassociated or I am feeling X. And their role is not to fix me. Their role is not to try to and maybe I do need a distraction today because that's also a DBT skill. And for those of you who don't know what DBT is, it's dialectical behavior therapy. And that is a DBT, it's distraction. That's part of self emotional regulation. But maybe that's not what I need right now. And that's okay. I just need somebody to know. I need somebody to know that I am in this disassociative state or this emotional state or this isolate how I am feeling. I need somebody to know how I am feeling. And the part of it is not is the second half of that for me. The second half of that for me is not that them knowing that I am in this state and not trying to fix me. Because for me, again, this whole show is my personal experience and my personal opinion. For me, it's I need somebody to know because I will self-isolate because because I feel like I don't want to feel like a burden, so I will not tell anybody how I'm feeling. But the second part of that also has to do a lot with my religious trauma and has a lot to do with my family trauma, is then they're going to try and fix me because something is wrong. So they're going to make me feel like I am broken and need to be fixed. And it's not that. What can I do to make you feel better? I can't feel better right now. There's nothing you can do to make me feel better. So the fact that you're going to try and fix the problem or make me feel better and not accept me for where I am right now just then makes me feel more isolated and more broken because I am in a place, especially when you're disassociated, like that's just going to make me feel more broken and more helpless and more alone because I can't because you're trying so hard and I love you and I care about you and I want to be better. I want to not be in this state. But because you're trying to fix me and it's not working, now I feel even more broken because why isn't it working? And that's where it's like I should feel better. They are trying. They love me. I should feel better. I shouldn't feel alone. I shouldn't. And then I feel more broken and I feel more isolated just by reaching out to somebody just to tell them, just so that but in the end it just and we all and I understand and I had to get to that place as well. Oh yeah. Oh, depression. When you're in a depressive episode, especially for somebody who has never had depression in a more conscious way, who maybe you should exercise. Maybe you should go kiss my ass. For real. Get your shit together. I would love to get my shit together. Because I love feeling like garbage. I could get on a whole rant, but I'm not. I'm gonna go back to my point. Um, but it's the shoulds, and it's the again because my trauma and my mental health journey is very much if there's a problem, fix it. If there is a problem, if I am a problem, if I am having a problem, I need to fix it. And having to accept that sometimes the problem is the problem, and the only way to get through it is to ride the wave, accept where you are, not necessarily wallow in it, but just be very mindful and acknowledging about where you are, have a plan, and there's no fixing it. It's just sort of sometimes you have to survive the episode. Understanding I'm in an episode, whatever episode that is, be it depression, anxiety, BPD, triggered, whatever. I'm in this episode right now. And here are the steps that I need to do to try to regulate myself and get through it. Here's my support system plan. And that sometimes there's just no an immediate fix. And it makes me feel even more isolated. And I know it comes again, I've had to look past the intentions versus the action. And that was big for me. That's so big for me. And I'm trying really hard. It's because I am one of those people is like I can see because because me, I can see what they're intending to do and why their intentions are good and why somebody they're just trying to help. They're just trying to help. Their intentions are to help me feel better because they love me and they care about me. And that's what I would tell myself, even though I would see their intention going, they're not trying to hurt me. They're just trying to help me. But at the same time, in their trying to help me, they are making things worse. And it's that gaslighting myself into your actions are making me feel one thing. They're not helping. They're making things work. But I'm trying to talk myself into going, but they're just trying to help. So it's okay. No, it's not okay. And that's where I've had to be very conscious and aware of just because you intended something doesn't mean that you're not doing harm. Just because they're intending to help me is making me feel more isolated because I am not in a place where there's nothing you can do. Just and I think when that point when people I bring up, "Hey, I'm in a bad place today. Hey, I made a mistake. Hey, I'm feeling embarrassed. Hey, I'm feeling this thing, this uncomfortable emotion." Exactly, Eric me. Yes, I feel bad because I am not in that moment fixable. The problem isn't fixable. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Asta. Um, and I don't know about you guys, but I know for me 100% is the thought that has perpetuated through most of my life, when I'm feeling the most isolated and because vulnerability is very difficult for me from a very young age. And for those of you who've been on this journey with me, know that when I first started being vulnerable, especially when I started streaming and being more honest about my mental health and my flaws and my intrusive, all of this shit, how it would literally send me into a panic attack because vulnerability was used as a weapon against me. So I don't know about anybody else, but the thought that literally is always in the back of my head when somebody tries to white knight me is, why can't you just love me broken? And I'm not broken. I'm just struggling. But that's the thought that goes through my head because that's what has, again, my journey has propelled me to try to be a perfectionist. I I can't be broken. I can't be flawed. I can't feel bad. I can't make mistakes. I can't do any of these things because I'm not going to, the people I care about aren't going to love me unless I am put together and perfect and skinny and young and talented and the best at my job and making them whatever. Just why can't I be loved broken? And I really want to just emphasize for and I am absolutely a white knight. I have because of the people pleaser and my trauma and, if you try to white knight somebody and try to fix somebody's problems and make them feel better all the time, then that is your own trauma which you need to look at, but, I mean, that's neither here nor there. I know from my personal experience, that's why I did it. Um, aw, thank you. Yes, that is true, very. Um, but why can't you just love me as I am? Broken, sad, lonely, disassociated. And so when you are trying to fix and make somebody feel better and whatever episode they're in, whatever they're in, and just go, if they ask you to help, that's one thing. But if you're just trying to force yourself because you're not okay unless they're okay, then that's something different. Then you're not validating their feelings. You're not sitting there in the dark going, if you need to sit here in the dark and you need to cry or you need to be angry, okay. That's loving somebody for who they are and where they are. I don't want to be loved or cared for. I don't want to be loved and cared for being better. Oh, yes, you can lose. You mean with BPD, you can get to the point where the symptoms don't matter. And some people, but with bipolar, they can work it with medication. But I mean, none of that goes away. It doesn't go away. So yeah, maybe it's a little longer between episodes, but episodes are still gonna fucking happen. Depression is still gonna happen. Yeah, okay, maybe you can have tools and skills that can help you with your anxiety and some medication, but shit's gonna still happen. That shit doesn't just disappear on you. So don't try to love me for being better and try to love me to being better. Don't love me trying to be better. Love me as I am right now. Care about me as I am right now. And surround yourself with people who will love you and care about you and accept you and go, you're sitting in the dark. You're in a depressive episode. I can see the monsters running all around through your head. And I'm going to be here for whatever you need. If it's just for me, you don't need me to do anything. I'm still going to sit here with you. Just check in on you. And I'm going to keep checking in on you, reminding you that I'm still here. I'm not going to fix you. I'm not going to do anything until you need help. I will be there. I will be your support system. That means so much more than, here, what can I do to help you fix you? Because that's not it. Having somebody and having people who love you, even in your worst, that's just priceless. And sometimes it'll be much. Sometimes maybe your dark time will collide with somebody else's dark time and you're not able to be there for somebody else. And that's okay too. That's where it's very important to just go, I see you're having a dark time. I'm going through a dark time. Okay. And that's okay. But that's nothing is more isolating for me when I have an issue or a problem or I'm going through a time and it's like I feel like I have to find a solution. Hi, Karen Baragon. No, I mean, saying I'm not okay unless you're okay borders on codependency. Oh, absolutely. That is codependency. That is codependency. Period. That is codependency. I know that too. It's a great thing. It's a great cocktail of traumas and mental illnesses and bad coping mechanisms. Oh, thank you for the follow. Um, I don't wanna go too long. I mean, I'm everybody's their own journey, and, I think everybody everybody feels isolated at some point. And I know for me, I just I just want to be my experience. And for me, and again, this is different for everyone, but for me, I want to be seen. I spent a lot of years being neglected, my emotional needs not mattering at all. I was the black sheep. I was always the problem. And when I was able to as a child and I expressed those things, I was told that I had to smile and pretend like it didn't matter. And through the years, that's so many people. I made myself lovable and, you know, to a point where so somebody wouldn't abandon me. Because the only way that I was going to be loved and seen is if I was doing for others, if I was perfect. And I feel like in those years when I was surrounded by, "Oh, she's so perfect, she's so smart, she's so talented, she's so beautiful, she's so" yeah, et cetera and so forth. So I've never felt more alone being a people pleaser because it didn't matter what I was feeling. It didn't matter what I said. My opinion didn't matter. It didn't matter how smart I was because at the time, I surrounded myself with people who like to take advantage, who fed my trauma. And in that need to not feel alone and isolated and abandoned, I just perpetuated the cycle of feeling alone and abandoned. And then I learned how to disassociate and disconnect from myself and my life. And for those of you, disassociation, it goes on various levels. There's different levels of it's a spectrum and of dissociation. But and the severe end of that is dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities, where you literally split. But I've gotten pretty well up there in the dissociative spectrum where I've lost months, where I literally there's parts of my life, chunks of my life that I don't remember because I just shut down, and that is so, that is the worst because like I know I've said this before. I felt like I was behind a very thick plexiglass and my body and my whole life was doing one thing and I was like in my head, who, me, my parts of myself, the real parts of myself were behind this glass just screaming and yelling and beating it and just trying to be like, somebody fucking help me. I'm trapped. Um oh, we love you too. Um disassociation can happen very it can happen even when you don't have it's a protective mechanism. It's a coping mechanism. So it can happen with anything, but absolutely um but yeah, I felt like I was screaming. And I'm going to guess, I'm not going to assume anything, but I'm sure some of you know understand that feeling. You're with this group of people, especially the group of people that you love and care about and you would give your life for, and you're sure that they wouldn't run from you, but you're not 100% sure because trauma and mental illness and all of those things, and you're pretty sure, but not 100%. So you're still behind that glass, screaming, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, yeah, fine." okay. But inside you're going, I'm dying. I just, it's so dark in here. It's so lonely. It's scary. The monsters are bigger than I can handle. But nobody knows. And you feel like locked in this big cage with these monsters and you're fighting them off and nobody has any idea. And it's because you love these people that you don't want to burden them. You don't want to you don't want to bother them because somewhere along the line you learned that you're too much. It's too much for somebody. It's too dark. It's too hard for them, whether it be a parental role, a loved one, or just repeated bad choices in romantic partners or friend groups. It's too much for them. And yes, it can be hard for your friends if you're not doing the work yourself. Um, I know that there are some people out there who just sort of rely on me to help them fight their monsters. I'm like, it's like I'm over here swinging this axe for you, and you're just sitting behind me. Like this is not my job. These are my monsters. Like I have my own. I mean, but somewhere along the line, you learned that you couldn't share because that meant bad things. That's hard. It's hard. Um, uh, I didn't want to bother anyone. And especially, I never wanted to bother anyone. And I learned how to swallow my pain. Um, I learned how I would dig my fingernails into my palms to remind myself it was like a physical reminder. I'm gonna like, okay, that's gonna remind me to keep it in check. And it distracted me enough. Never let them inside and see the monsters because no one will love you. And that is the most isolating because then you are locking yourself in with your monsters because you were taught over and over again that it wasn't safe. So here I am sitting alone with my monsters, surrounded by people that I love, living in fear because if I let these people that I love see my monsters, I'm just going to hurt them and my monsters are going to hurt them and I don't want to hurt them and they will not love me anymore. So I'm just going to sit here feeling alone and scared and disconnected. And you know what? I've learned that some people will. Some people will run. And the people you didn't want to run will. But what I've also learned is some people will surprise you. People that you never expected to show up and just stay there, just to stay. You're like, I'm gonna stay. And those people that come out of nowhere, they're the ones that are like, I know exactly what that feels like. You know what? I've got my own monsters and I also already have my own weapons. So here, let's grab I got my armory. Let's go visit that and we're going to go fight these things together. And if you don't need me to fight them with you, if you're good fighting them by yourself, just know you got backup. And And that's been the most it, being vulnerable and letting people in, knowing that the jail door was always unlocked, but me being convinced that it I wasn't allowed out. That has been the biggest struggle, and it's the biggest thing. It's going, okay, the door's open and I can walk through it. I still feel isolated sometimes. I'm 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 not saying that I'm fine. I'm fine because I'm not. Because I still self-isolate. I still self-isolate. I still don't want to be a burden. I still don't want people to I just still don't want to hurt the people I love. I still don't want to struggle. I'm getting better at my my lead time of of telling somebody is getting shorter, but it's not gone. I don't go months and months and months or weeks and weeks, but I still isolate. I'm still very hyper independent. I struggle with that all the time. I still struggle with being honest about my emotions and my thoughts. I struggle with the vulnerability. I struggle with the emotional and mental transparency with people, um, because it's all out of fear of being alone, which is isn't that a whole fucking catch 22? You surround yourself with people that you love and you care about, but you feel isolated around them because you don't want to, when you're struggling, you don't want to be a burden because you're terrified that if you're honest and you let those people in and try and love you, that they're going to run away and you're still going to be alone. So it's this mental mind fuck of a cycle that just some sometimes and which helps you like makes you feel like you just can't fucking win, right? You just can't fucking win. I I need to be honest about my feelings. I need to not people please. I need to let people love me. I need to let people see me at my worst and my darkest moments. And you open up and then it's like, what if they run away? What if I open up and they run and they go and they leave? Just just gotta keep doing it, as my therapist says. You gotta do it. You gotta be honest. You gotta just like I said, when I'm dissociated or I'm upset or sad, I have those. She says you don't need everybody to know, and that's okay. You don't need everybody to know. You just need one or two people that you trust, that you know will go. You can go, I'm disassociated, and they go, what do you need? And if you reply, I don't need anything, I just need someone to know. And they go, okay, well, I will check on you in a little bit. Thank you for telling me. I love you. I care about you. I'll check on you in a little bit. And they also help take that on, I will check on you in a little bit, knowing that it's like, I will just tell somebody and then not mention it again, and they'll be like, "Mm-mm, we're going to check on you. We're not going to let you isolate." And it doesn't take a ton of people. It just takes 1 or 2. Just like it you're not gonna like my therapist says this to me all the time. You're not gonna get better overnight. You didn't get fucked up overnight, so you're not gonna get better overnight. You just need to give yourself a little grace. Literally, she says, "You need to give yourself grace every single fucking session." And there has not been a therapist that I had because, like, you guys know that I'm starting a new therapist, but like, there hasn't been a therapy session yet that I've had with any therapist that hasn't gone, "You need to be easy on yourself. You need to give yourself a little grace." Healing is taking you more time than you thought because the damage is way more substantial than you let yourself know. The trauma runs way deeper than you thought, and it's gonna take longer than you thought to heal. it's gonna take more time than you anticipated, and maybe the journey is a little harder than you thought, and that's okay. Be kind and give yourself grace. Every therapy session, I'm like, and they're like, "Mhm." 'Cause again, that's my trauma. If there's a problem, I wanna fix it, and I need to fix it right away, and once it's fixed, it'll be done, right? Mhm. Yeah, cool. Mhm. Guess not. You do a lot there? No, actually, I don't. I when I start I did when I had my breakdown about, going on almost 3 years now, when I had my breakdown, I had a therapist and I loved her. I loved her. Absolutely. Just, she was amazing. She did great work with me, but she ended up moving out of state. So I ended up having to find another therapist, and I loved my therapist after her. She was great too. She was a trauma therapist, and so because I was looking again, my therapy was moving into a different direction, and so I was like, okay, well, and then she also left the practice and got another job, and I'm like, people are gonna think I'm, like, running these therapists off. I mean, therapists and counselors are humans too, and they need to go where the job opportunity lends themselves and family and real life, and that's okay, but it has been, it's like, "What?" Like, "Okay." But the new one I have, she's freaking amazing. I love her. She is, no nonsense, like, and we're just we're a few weeks in, but you can tell after so many sessions, like, you can tell you can tell who they are as a therapist, and yeah, and so but mine were great. Um, I but this one is she is not afraid of asking me hard questions. She is not afraid of, uh she's very straightforward. She's also I think I the progression of the I've gotten really lucky with mine. It just so happens that they have found other opportunities, but I think this one is where after the first couple of sessions, I realized that this is the therapist I needed for where I'm at in my journey, and, it only benefits you. Um, but, it is she's no nonsense. And, but in a kind of compassion, she's very much like me, I think, and I think that that's why it's very helpful, is she's very straightforward, she'll ask me the questions, but she's also very validating, and in that point, she's not afraid to ask the hard questions, and also be very much like, "Okay, this looks like are you okay? Can we keep going?" Like, she's exactly what I need when I need it, and, Asta, yes, you also have to be comfortable with your therapist, and I think that that's something that some people I know that some people are, restricted by their insurances or, financially, and yes, I understand that, but you have to make sure that you don't have to stick with a therapist that is not working for you and that is not helping and benefiting you, and not that it's not benefiting you in that, "Oh, they're making me think hard things," or, "Oh, they're, like, actually making me, like, work." No, when their belief system or their way of conducting your mental health journey doesn't align with yours, like, if you're an atheist and you're with a Christian counselor, that's not gonna work out. Just I think that that's also very important for people to know, like, and being honest with your counselor and therapist. I have one that is too hard on me, or I just don't open up. Yeah. Ooh, this one that they don't talk about, that I don't have time to talk about, but, I mean, feeling like your therapist doesn't understand you and isn't hearing you. I had a couple of those too, where it's just like, that's not what I said, and they don't try to hear what you said, or they don't try to they're just pushing their own agenda, and they've made some I think that's the problem that I had for a long time, which is why I quit therapy several times and just said, "Fuck it, I'll do it myself," is because it felt like they had an idea. They already wrote it down in their little notes that I am XYZ, and they were like, it was like they refused to see past that or try to get to understand either what they made a judgment on me and that's how what they made a judgment of me and that's just how they were treating me. And that was very frustrating. So, oh, well, that's good. I wish it were easy here. For here, it's like literally freaking like an act of don't even. You know what? I'm actually quite envious of that. As I really am. I guess I might just drink my coffee and keep my political views to myself. Because there's so many people who don't go to therapy who actually want therapy that can't afford it, and it infuriates me. And medical attention, things that I can't control. I can advocate is all I can do. But oh, that's awesome. I've heard about that. Um I had a therapist. I had a therapist. Yeah, Camino. I know. It infuriates me. And you and I have talked about that. um, I've had a therapist suggest EDMR, the electro whatever, like light therapy. Um, I don't know. I haven't done it. Like my therapist personally doesn't do it. So, but we'll see. I think I'm not in a place where I need it now. I think back when I was closer back to when I was going through my breakdown, I I thought it might have benefited me more, but now I've been able to work through some of that. So everybody's different. EDMDR. That's right. I I my trauma therapist, she didn't do it, but she had a friend who did it, and when we were working through some of my trauma stuff, it gotten to the point where it was pretty hard, but, we never sh we started doing a lot of things, and then she took another job, so I've also walked through that with my current therapist, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I went manic, I can see that. Well, I did not intend to talk for an hour and a half. I literally was just like, "Oh, well, I don't wanna go 2 weeks," 'cause I was like, "I feel like streaming, but Sean's not here, so I'll go solo," and I was not expecting to do the whole hour and a half like we normally do with waking up. Because normally I have another person sharing the time with me. I talk a lot. Mm, yay. Well, thanks for being here with me and putting up with me for an hour and a half. Um, thanks, Calvino. And I really appreciate all of you being here with me and actually sharing this space with me. Whether you're chatting or not chatting, I really appreciate Eric and Asta, you guys being here. Eric showed up for the past couple of times, and Asta, welcome. And for even those of you watching who didn't chat a lot, like I think Nerdy Will. Oh, yeah, that's right. Nerdy Will was here too, and Tata J, and I saw Nev on here. But sharing this space with me, um, I've talked about this with a lot of my streamer friends. Sometimes it's just like you're talking into thin air, and you don't know. But I really this has also been a part of my journey, my mental health journey, is being able to be open and honest and vulnerable. And I've said this before, and that's the whole reason that my whole streaming um style has changed, because it was important for me in my mental health journey to not be perfect and to be very open and public about my struggles and my journey. And what I've realized is that it's me virtually sharing space with somebody and how important that is for me. Um even if there's like two people or maybe no people, but just me being able to share space. And I really oh, Arugs. It is the first initial of my name and the last part of my first name and the last part of my last name. And so if you put that, it looks like arugula, and that is not how you spell my last name, but it looks like it. And so is my first initial last name, and it looks like arugula. And so we were streaming with somebody who couldn't say my last name to say, and a lot of people still can't say my last name to save my life. So it ended up being the nickname Arugs. Um, it so that's it just sort of stuck. Arugs stuck, and I was Arugs forever because that's no, even though my first name is not that complicated, I don't know why my first name never it just I nobody could I nobody ever called me Anna, even though Anna's not that difficult of a name. It just my Arugs became my nickname. So that's what it stands for. It's my nickname with a combination like because somebody couldn't pronounce my name. So uh you're the second Anna I know. I was the only Anna for a very, very, very long time, growing up, so it's like, because most of them were Jennifers and Jessicas and yeah. There was a lot of Brooks and Elizabeth. Brooks, Elizabeth, Jennifers, and Jessicas growing up. I was Anna. Yeah, so 2 N's. 2 N's. Yeah, so yay. I like Anna though. I hated it for the longest time. But I'm learning the more I'm learning to love myself, the more I'm learning to love my name. I used to think it was so plain and common and not as elegant. If you knew my sister's full proper name, it's like they gave her this full, beautiful proper name, and I was just like, they gave me my Anna, and they gave me my name, and I was like, it's so country. And I realized I like Anna. It's a great name. Um, so. Well, you're dope as fuck too, Camino. I love you. Yeah, and like so many people hate their names, and I think maybe it's because I mean nowadays like you can change it, and so many people are identifying and, but like because we weren't given a choice. That's like the one like, there's a couple things, but that was like the one thing we weren't given a choice. And luckily, the older you get, the more you think, "You know what? I don't wanna go by that anymore." So, Steverino or Kit, you know what? Eric, you tell me whatever you want. You wanna you whatever you want me to call you, I will call you that. Just you know what? I if you want me to call you Eric, I can. If you want me to call you Kit, I will. I am all about, like, tell me what you want me to call you, and I will call you that. And if you change your mind later, I'll call you that too. Because you know what? That's your choice. And I am here to respect everybody and their choices. And so, yeah. But you want it wrong. You right. You right, Nev. I did. uh, is Asta your real name? I mean, I don't want to pry, but it's like that's but everybody's different. It grew on me. Nice. Astalarian? Is that how you say it? Because that is pretty. Did I say it right? That is a very pretty name. Astalarin? Astalarin? Did I say that right? I'm always big on pronunciation because people mispronounce my maiden name and my married name forever. I just found out it was a slang for and out of left field comes Calvino. I've never heard of that being up now. Okay. Asta Lauren. Asta Lauren. Oh, that is pretty. Anyway, Eric's a great name too. I know a lot of great Erics, by the way. And Calvinos. I have some really great friends. And honestly, just like I've learned a name is a name. And as long as you love it, whatever you want to be called, I'll call you that because that's your choice and you're comfortable in that. Um, that's why it's fine. Um, yeah, honestly, I have not. It's very rare that I've met a really crappy Eric. Most of the Erics I come by are pretty cool dudes. It does. It does like a luxury brand. Like, did anybody see that in like gold chrome? Anyway, it is. I have been chatting y'all's ear off for an hour and a half, and I was not it. But thank you for sharing a space with me. Thank you for being here for this solo version of waking up. And while Pep has being an adult. And I'm glad I'm not being an adult right now. I am in my pajamas but I actually have to go and be an adult and do my chores like, laundry and dishes. It's fine. But anyway, I don't have my hatchlings this weekend and I don't want to be doing chores all day. So maybe I will hop on later and game a little bit. Cavino, you want to hop on some 76 and cause some chaos? So anyway, thank you guys for being here. And I love you all. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great week. I just moved all my stuff. That's fine. All right. Bye, guys. Did you really just high five over me right
No,
now?
we didn't.
Okay, we're live. Hello.
Last week,
You don't even do that well from the front seat.
okay.
The bear's coming with the carpet spoon.
That's a straight up PBR for the table. I think it called.
She ain't judging us at all.